what Yanis said about the Eurogroup is quite striking. This is a completely unelected work group, not in any remote way related to citizens' decisions, but it's basically making the decisions, the choices and decisions. That's even beyond what happens here. Here it's bad enough, but that's more extreme.
Well, let me add to this, just to clarify something. Actually, I will go further than Noam about Europe. The European Union doesn't suffer, or the Eurogroup, from a democratic deficit. It's like saying that we are on the moon and there is an oxygen deficit. There is no oxygen deficit on the moon. There is no oxygen, full stop. And this is official in Europe. In my first Eurogroup, as the rookie around, I was given the floor to set out our policies and to introduce myself, which is nice. And I gave the most moderate speech that I thought it was humanly possible to make. I said, I know that you are annoyed I'm here. Your favorite guy didn't get elected. I got elected. I'm here. But I'm here in order to work with you, to find common ground. There is a failed program that you want to keep insisting on implementing in Greece. We have our mandate. Let's sit down and find common ground. I thought that was a pretty moderate thing to say. They didn't. And then after me, after I had expounded the principle of continuity and the principle of democracy and the idea of having some compromise between the two, Dr. Wolfgang Schäuble puts his name tag forward and demands the floor. And he comes up with a magnificent statement. Verbatim, I'm going to give you what he said. Elections cannot be allowed to change the economic policies of any country. At which point I intervened and I said, this is the greatest gift to the Communist Party of China, because they believe that too. Okay? Now, while I was in there, in the 12 Eurogroup meetings that I attended before I resigned, I noticed in those very lengthy, incredibly intense and depressing sequences of discussions, some of them lasted more than 12 hours, the room was full of cameras, microphones. You know, these screens, we had 30 of them. I could say, whoever, you know, we were in the same room with people and I was watching them on television because, you know, this is the power of the screen. You don't watch the person speaking, you watch him on the screen, or her. Yeah? And at some point it hit me. We don't need a revolution here. Somebody in the control booth just press a button and connect all these cameras to the internet. Just imagine if that were to happen. Huh? You don't need a treaty change, a new constitution, a revolution, nothing. Somebody just press a button. Like in a science fiction movie, you press a button and suddenly you have a new universe. Yeah? What would happen? Would Schäuble say this? I don't know, maybe he would, but you know what? It would make a difference for the Germans, the French, the Portuguese, the Greeks to hear him say those words. Instead of reading the Financial Times where people like Peter Spiegel were simply saying that Yanis Varoufakis was resisting reform in his country and he demanded more money for it. Right? So transparency is everything. We need, this is the first step. It's a huge revolutionary step that takes nothing more than the press of a button. So this is why, you know, on our side, again, I'm a salesperson here tonight, in dim25.org, there is a Transparency in Europe Now campaign. We're demanding the live streaming of all these meetings. We're demanding that the ECB publishes its minutes. We're demanding that all the TTIP negotiating... Do you know that as the Minister of State for Finance in Greece, in order to look at the TTIP documents of the negotiations between the European Union, to which I was a finance minister, and the United States, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. In other words, the price of looking at those documents was that I promised not to tell my electorate. So, if you can, get into our site and sign the petition for transparency. It's a small step, just to make it difficult for them. Even if they have to answer the question, why are they not live streaming the meetings? That's a small step, because you're putting them in a difficult position.
I just want to say that we are also live streaming.